All right, welcome back. So my last video just ended abruptly out of the blue. Sorry for that. There was a crash. OBS crashes sometimes. I don't know why. Let's check. It should say how much. Uh, it should say how much disk space I have. I mean, this is recording on my 1 terabyte M2 drive, so it should be fine. But maybe if we go into properties, I forget. I thought it said somewhere the amount of recording. I think that's Audacity I'm thinking of. But anyways, I finished up this on my own. As I said, I'm not going to have everything in this series. So I'm just going to start here. There's a lot of reading to do. So I figure if all I'm doing is pure reading, I might as well do it on the channel. All right, so next section is why I used virtual machines instead of Docker for some parts of my system. Feel free to skip this section and scroll down to understanding the basics of Docker section. This is another section that is completely unnecessary to read if you simply want to get a system working. Feel free to fast forward to the understanding the basics of Docker. This is here to provide insight into why I structured the guide the way I did. Docker is a great way to managing the type of there programs in lightweight, isolated environments. It changed how sysadmins deploy and maintain their systems. Virtual machines are going out of fashion for many sysadmins, but in this guide, you'll notice that I've grouped certain services into virtual machines instead of using Docker for everything. Let me explain why. Number one, building my system piece by piece. Back when I started getting into self-managing my own servers 15 years ago, my setup wasn't built all at once. It was cobbled together using the hardware I have lying around, which is what I'm doing. Old laptops, physical servers, and spare drives. As these machines aged, broke, or were bashed in with a titanium nightstick when they frustrated me, I started turning their hard drives into virtual machines. This was as simple as using DD Rescue to create an image of the working hard drive, then using Virtual Machine Manager to run that image. So hopefully we'll get a video here.
So we've been known as the repair shop recently that has a 20 to 40-second delay on our phone line due to this lovely PBX that we have here. Now, I just recently completed a certification in order to become a Lenovo authorized repair and warranty facility. So I just wanted to start with our first authorized repair being on our PBX. If you call us now, we have no delay on our phone line, courtesy of our new PBX system because of how we repair it.
I'm hoping that's the old system.
This is very important that you get this in there. Shitty aim. Let's make sure I have a good aim. Steve, come on. I know this has bothered you as well. But I can't do all the work when I have all these technicians on staff. Oh my god, dude. This one's for everyone here. Woo! Bye. Well, what one? But enough to get,
There we go. Yeah, they barely dented it.
Oh my god.
That's better.
Here, you have to say bye. You have to say bye. Show him the results. No. Show him the results. Hold on. Turn it. Now, one of the things that I learned during my test is that as much as I would like to throw this thing into this garbage pail over here, that the correct thing to do would be to throw it into the e-waste bin over here.
I don't know. I feel like you could have repurposed some of that stuff there. At least take out the cables and put them somewhere. So why not Docker? By the time Docker even came out around 2013, I already had 3 virtual machines that were also take out the DOS battery. Like if uh, the motherboard coin battery is still good, like just save that. I mean it's like a few bucks, but like you'll save time. You can just go and you don't have to order one. But anyways, why not Docker? By the time Docker even came out around 2013, I already had three virtual machines that were created from disk images of machines that were running in my closet or my store. At the time, Docker didn't even exist. Rebuilding everything using Docker from scratch once it came out wasn't an efficient use of time while running a business and wasting most of my spare time fighting my state's incompetent government.
Looking at
Which
the
state?
account at a glance, this
I think it's New York. Yeah, so New York State. Took him to court and got a warrant. I never knew because they sent. Okay, so they sent summons to him that he never received because they sent them to Maine for some reason, and he ignored his summons, so he had to get arrested and go to court.
collection case ID that you gave me doesn't match your account at all, and in fact, we're showing that you have no balance.
So the mailing address that we have on file is P.O. Box 842, Berwick, Maine. Is that the correct address?
No, I've never lived in Maine. I've been to Maine once in my life.
What? Oh, I apologize.
Okay, actually, this could explain everything, because one of the things I've been going over with the other reps is I never got any of the notices saying that I owed tax. Because like if I had gotten a notice saying, hey, you owe $1,500, we're going to take you to court, like I would have paid that immediately. That's less than like my manager 1 week of my employee salary. So have all these notices been going to Maine this whole time? I'm not mad at you or anything. I'm just curious.
No, yeah, no. Let me take a look at.
All right, everybody, I'll just be honest with you. I don't know whether or not I should spoil it at the beginning because this is a really, really long thing, and the the punchline is so ridiculous that I just think it should be shared in the beginning, or whether I should not spoil it. So I'm going to include timestamps if you want to skip around the spoilers. So here's the spoiler. A, this was a clerical error the entire time. I owe them no money. B, the reason that I was never notified of this is because the address that they had on file was not the address that I provided for my business. It wasn't my business filing address or my store. It was, I shit you not, a P.O. box in Maine. So they were sending these notices saying, hey, you owe this money. Hey, you owe this money. Hey, we're going to take you to court. Hey, we're going to get a lien on you. Hey, we got a lien on you. Hey, do you want to pay the lien? All those notices were going to literally a P.O. box in Maine. And here's the effed up part. Here's the effed up part about all of this shit and what drives me nuts. At some point, you actually start to think that maybe, just maybe, it's you. There is a Reddit thread where the top upvoted post right now, 53 upvotes, says, what a whiff on this. Seems like a smart guy could have looked it up. And somebody says, no, he didn't pay his taxes, or he failed to report to the proper authority and they kept billing him. This is entirely on him. Here's the thing. At some point, you actually start to believe that it's you. Like, I have binders here. I have binders.
I know exactly what he means. You start to believe that maybe I did live in Maine for 5 to 10 years and I just don't remember it.
Binders, not binders full of women. I'm not Ritt Romney. I have binders for my businesses. You get these when you order a company book from Hubco, and my accountant tells me that every time I send a piece of correspondence to New York State Taxation and Finance or IRS, that I need to include a copy of it in this binder along with a certified mail receipt, because he said that they will forget. He says that I treat all of my clients like they are children that are even stupider than the people that work at New York State Department of Finance. And I'll be honest with you, that's the way to do it.
All right, let's see the spoiler.
They don't have like cold.
Well, you could just call in like about 5-10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. You have a lovely day.
You're welcome. You too. Bye.
Okay, so how many of you are old enough to be born during a time when nobody had call waiting? Like, if you were on the phone with somebody and somebody else called, you wouldn't see that somebody else was calling and have an opportunity to know who it is. You just got doot, 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 doot. That's what they're working with. They do not have call waiting. They don't have hold. Like, it's literally one person sitting there answering the phone with a phone that is set up with a busy signal.
County clerk.
Yeah, I remember those days. Okay, well, long story short, rebuilding everything using Docker from scratch, once it came out, wasn't an efficient use of time while running a business. And when you run a business, you have to deal with stuff like this. Or even when not running a business. Get your tattoos removed. All right, number 2, time efficient migration from physical to virtual. Taking a physical server and turning it into a virtual machine takes no effort. Number 1, pull out the pull drive out of physical server. Number 2, run dd rescue-f-d-r3. Give it the path of where you plugged it in to the other system. Phone system.iso. Open Virtual Machine Manager. Enter a few commands in terminal to create a bridge network interface so the virtual machines work. Once done, I never have to do this again for any other virtual machine. Import the phonesystem.iso file as a virtual machine. Mess with BIOS/UEFI settings if necessary in Virtual Machine Manager to get it to work. Assign the virtual machine the amount of CPU cores/RAM I think it should have based on what it is doing. Run it, be happy. It only takes a few seconds to type the commands and click the icons necessary in Virtual Machine Manager. Compare that to re-architecting the entire system for Docker. It would have taken way more effort, downtime, etc. for an improvement in performance I will never notice as a person who has very few users on my server. One of these servers were running years before Docker was a thing, and fixing what wasn't broken made no sense. Virtual machines offered a way to keep my systems running as they were once the hardware died, and have them set to back up with no extra work on my part. Over the years, I changed to using programs that were in Docker exclusively. I went from a normal Nextcloud deployment, where I manually installed everything from scratch, including dependencies, to Image for images, which was all Docker. I went from self-managed email, where the individual components, Mailcut, Dovecow, MySQL, RISP AMD, etc., were all installed from scratch to Mailcow. Along the way, I just installed the Dockerized version of the program on the virtual machine that was assigned to that group of services. Number 3, certain programs aren't built for Docker. Not every program is Docker friendly. For example, FreePBX or PBX in a Flash. You could theoretically create a custom Docker setup for these, but it would involve a ridiculous amount of work with little to no benefit for someone with my number of users. 1, me, or 1 or 2 other people sometimes. For my use case and most home users, the performance penalty of using FreePBX in a virtual machine instead of Dockerized, as is noticeable as using Gentoo Linux with a merge to compile the entire thing from a stage 1 tarball versus Gentoo with apt to install programs. Home Assistant. The developers themselves recommend using their pre-built VM image, HAOS, instead of Docker. If devs thinks it's better, I'm not going to argue. I can barely write a ZFS health monitoring email script. Who am I to argue with the developers of the best home automation software on earth on the best way to run their program? Even if I wanted to use Docker for everything, I'd have at least 2 VMs running. Adding another 1 or 2 doesn't bother me. All right, and the 4th reason to have some virtual machines on your network and not just all Docker is idiot-proof backups, the most important reason. This is a beginner's guide. Backing up Docker volumes, containers, networks, images, and configs is 100% doable. But let's be honest, it requires some degree of competence. Backing up a virtual machine, on the other hand, is completely idiot-proof. A virtual machine backup is just a single .qcow2 disk image and a single .xml configuration file. Drag and drop these 2 images to another system, import them into Virtual Machine Manager, and the virtual machine runs. There's no need to rebuild Docker containers, recreate volumes, or edit docker-compose.yaml files. It's so simple that someone with absolutely no technical expertise could do it in one click. In fact, it is so easy that even I can do it. If I can do it, it is truly idiot-proof. The backup script I provide is one I use myself. Once a week, it backs up all my virtual machines as well as their configuration files to a ZFS pool, which will continue running even if several hard drives fail. If I screw something up, it is 2 terminal commands or a few clicks in the GUI, and I'm back up and running as if nothing stupid ever happened. For beginners, when it comes to backups, simplicity is priceless. Added complexity means you are less likely to use your backup system and less likely to understand how restoring from a backup works. Why this guide uses virtual machines. In this guide, I've grouped services into virtual machines because it mirrors how I built my system over the past 15 years. This approach makes it easier for total beginners to back up and restore their setups without worrying about the complexities of Docker. Here's how I've organized the VMs. Number one, Android services, alternatives to Google Drive, Google Photos, and Google Docs, which, yes, gimme. FUTO. Number two, identity and communication services, alternatives to Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Contacts, and Google Chrome's password manager. Gimme. I want. Number three, phone system, free PBX for managing calls. And number four, home automation, a home assistant for smart home management, which again, gimme. I want all my lights in my apartment to turn into red LED light when I'm ready to go to bed. You do not have to do anything this way if you don't want to. You're welcome to adapt this setup or not. If you prefer Docker, you can combine many of these services into one host system. However, I still recommend using virtual machines for the following. Free PBX. The extra effort required to make this work in Docker isn't worth it. Home Assistance. The HAOS image is the easiest and most reliable way to run Home Assistant, as per the developer's recommendations. This guide wasn't about doing everything new. It was about all of you asking how/had set up my system. Oh, okay, so that's not a slash, that's the I italicized for emphasis. So it's asking how I had set up my system. So there's probably better ways. I mean, even using pfSense, it's probably better to use let's see here. It's probably better to use the alternative to pfSense. I don't know. Oh yeah, OPN sense is probably better. But I'm just doing it. I've never done this before. He wrote the guide to be easy to follow, so I don't want to get already the guide is 13 hours of information. So I just want to get through this, and then if I want to tinker around and make upgrades, then I'm free to do so because everything's modular. So the HAOS image is the easiest and most reliable way to run Home Assistant, as per the developer's recommendations. Since my system works for everything under the sun and has continued to for longer than I've been allowed to buy alcohol, I keep it going. And I'm gonna stop here because reading out loud is hard. I'm not sure if I could do it for 25 hours, unlike some people. So and I need to change and be somewhere by 7. So this is a perfect stopping spot. So so that's it for this video. When I come back, we'll read Understanding the Basics of Docker.